Don't ever let the same people disappoint you twice. It's a simple statement, yet one that feels almost impossible to follow in real life. We want to believe in people. We want to see their potential, not their patterns. So we excuse, we rationalize, we hope. Maybe this time will be different. Maybe they'll finally treat me the way I deserve. The Stoics would call this misplaced hope. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The behavior of others is outside your control. The more you cling to the illusion that you can make someone better simply by giving them another chance, the more you weaken your own power. Why do we do it? Because deep down, we fear what happens if we stop. We fear losing people, even the ones who hurt us. We fear being alone. We fear what walking away says about us. But here's the truth. Every time you let someone repeat the same hurtful behavior without consequence, you're sending a silent message. I don't believe I deserve better. It's not about punishing them. It's about refusing to abandon yourself for someone who has shown you their disregard. Forgiveness is powerful, but forgiveness doesn't mean access. You can forgive someone fully in your heart and still decide they no longer get a seat at your table. Stoicism encourages this kind of clear, rational boundary setting. Epictetus, a freed slave turned philosopher, taught that we are not obligated to allow anyone into our inner circle. Our energy is precious, and our character is shaped by the company we keep. He famously said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. If someone constantly brings you down through disrespect, manipulation, or carelessness, you are not required to endure it in the name of being kind. In fact, allowing harmful patterns to continue isn't kind to anyone. It isn't kind to you, and it isn't kind to them because it enables their poor behavior. Forgiveness can coexist with distance. You can say, "I don't hate you, I just choose not to allow you to hurt me anymore." That's not cold, that's wisdom. Boundaries are not about rejection, they are about self-respect. Imagine your life as a home. The front door doesn't stay open to every stranger passing by. You decide who comes in, how long they stay, and whether they respect the space. But what happens when someone keeps tracking mud through your home? What happens when they slam doors, break windows, or ignore your rules? You don't let them keep coming in. You draw a line. You change the locks if you have to. Your life is no different. The Stoics often spoke about controlling your inner citadel, your mind and soul. No one should have free rein to storm it. Boundaries protect your peace. Without them, you'll burn out, feeling resentful and hollow. Setting boundaries isn't always comfortable. People who benefit from you having none will often accuse you of being selfish or cold the moment you set them. But as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. In other words, if allowing someone's behavior is not right for your soul, you have an obligation to change it. The Stoics weren't afraid to detach. They knew that peace comes not from controlling others, but from releasing the need to control them. You cannot make someone respect you. You cannot force someone to act with kindness, no matter how much you care for them, but you can control how much influence they have over your mind, your emotions, and your time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You don't need to get even. You don't need to show anger or resentment. True power is walking away with calm, knowing you didn't let them turn you into someone bitter or small. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It doesn't mean you stop caring about people or wishing them well. It means you understand the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. You can love someone from afar while protecting your peace. You can wish them healing while closing the door. Saying no is a skill. At first, it feels unnatural. It feels like you're letting people down, or worse, that you're not nice. But every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what heals you. When you first set boundaries, the silence that follows can be uncomfortable. People may fall away. They may get angry. They may accuse you of changing. And you know what? They're right. You are changing. You're no longer available for the same disrespect that once wore you down. But as time passes, that silence becomes your sanctuary. You begin to realize that you don't need everyone to like you. You don't need everyone's approval. What you need is your own respect. And that only grows when you stop betraying yourself. Toxic patterns don't just exist in relationships. They exist in workplaces, friendships, and even families. At work, it's the boss who constantly criticizes but never encourages, the colleague who takes credit for your efforts, the culture that expects you to burn out and call it dedication. Stoicism teaches that while we can't control others, we can control our response. Setting boundaries on overtime, calmly speaking truth, or even walking away from jobs that crush our spirit. In friendships, it's the friend who only calls when they need something, who dismisses your wins but exaggerates your mistakes. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." If your friends leave you feeling smaller, it may be time to step back. In families, this one is hard because we're taught that blood is thicker than water, but family members can be toxic too, guilt-tripping, manipulating, or disrespecting boundaries. Stoicism doesn't mean cutting people out without thought, but it does mean creating emotional distance when necessary. Clarity. Know what behaviors cross the line for you. Marcus Aurelius advised, "If it is not good, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Apply this to relationships. If something feels wrong, name it. Calm detachment. Boundaries are best communicated without anger. When you express your limit, do it with quiet confidence. You don't need to shout to be heard. Consistency. A boundary is meaningless if you don't uphold it. If someone keeps crossing it, the Stoic response is to act, not just talk. That may mean reducing contact, changing the dynamic, or walking away. Walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's saying, "I see who you are, and I choose peace instead." You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you won't tolerate harmful patterns. As Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." And here's the secret. When you finally let go, you'll feel lighter. You'll stop living on edge, wondering if today will be another day of disrespect or disappointment. You'll find space to grow. You'll find energy for people and places that actually nourish your spirit. Because the version of you that respects herself enough to choose peace, she's already waiting. She's stronger, she's calmer, she's wiser. And once you meet her, you will wonder why you stayed so long in rooms that made you forget your worth. A toxic environment is more likely to change you than you are to change it. Let that sink in. No matter how strong you are, if you stay long enough in a room that discourages growth, it will start shaping you, whittling you down, convincing you that smallness is safety. You might find yourself dimming your light, staying silent when you want to speak, or holding back your potential just to avoid rocking the boat. Why? Because we all crave belonging. We'd rather shrink than stand out. But shrinking for the sake of acceptance comes with a cost. Your confidence erodes, your identity blurs, and you slowly forget who you were before you tried to fit a mold that was never built for you. The Stoics would challenge this deeply. Epictetus taught that true freedom comes from living in alignment with your own values, not the expectations of the crowd. He said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." When was the last time you asked yourself, does this room I'm in, this job, this relationship, this circle, call forth my best? Or does it reward my silence? Leaving a familiar environment, even a toxic one, is not easy. There's a strange comfort in what we know, even if it's hurting us. We convince ourselves that staying is easier than starting over. Maybe I can change them. Maybe if I work harder, it'll get better. But here's the hard truth. Most toxic environments aren't designed to change. They thrive on cycles. Your efforts to fix them often go unnoticed because they were never built to nurture your growth. And as the Stoics remind us, you cannot control external chaos. You can only control your response to it. Seneca wrote, "If you are living according to nature, you will never be poor. If you are living according to opinion, you will never be rich. Staying in a toxic space often means living according to opinion, the opinions of others, their comfort zones, their limitations. True richness comes from stepping into spaces where you can thrive, even if it means walking away from what's familiar. How do you know it's time to leave? Pay attention to the subtle signs. You feel smaller when you're there. Your ideas are dismissed, your energy is drained, and you walk away questioning your worth. You're forced to shrink to be accepted. You catch yourself holding back your talents or opinions to avoid backlash. You feel stuck, not challenged. Growth should stretch you, not suffocate you. A healthy environment challenges you to rise. A toxic one clips your wings. You no longer recognize yourself. The longer you stay, the more you feel like a shadow of who you were meant to be. If any of these resonate, it's a sign you've outgrown the room. The Stoics believed that true growth is found on the other side of discomfort. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Sometimes the way forward is the courage to leave environments that no longer serve you. Leaving doesn't mean you failed. It means you're willing to choose something better, even if it's uncertain. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action despite fear. When you choose to leave a toxic environment, you're saying, "I value my future more than I fear this temporary discomfort." Think about it like this. A plant doesn't stay in a pot that's too small for its roots. If it does, it stops growing. You are no different. If you've outgrown the room, staying will only stunt your potential. Perhaps you're in a job where innovation is punished, where leadership thrives on fear rather than trust. You have ideas, but they're shut down. You give your best, but it's never enough. Over time, you stop trying. You shrink. A Stoic would say, "You cannot expect a rose to bloom in soil that rejects its roots." Sometimes walking away from a job isn't quitting. It's choosing to plant yourself where you can grow. Not all friendships are meant to last forever. If you're surrounded by people who mock your dreams, gossip about others, or dismiss your growth, it's time to ask yourself, do they actually celebrate me? Or do they only tolerate me? Outgrowing a friendship is painful, but so is pretending to be someone you're not just to belong. This one is tough. Family bonds are deep, but toxic patterns can run deeper. If you find yourself constantly walking on eggshells or carrying the weight of someone else's unresolved pain, it's okay to set boundaries. Stoicism doesn't tell you to abandon love, but it teaches you not to sacrifice your peace for it. Leaving is rarely a single moment. It's a process, an unraveling of habits, fears, and emotional attachments. It starts with clarity, recognizing that you deserve better. Then comes planning, deciding what your next step looks like. And finally, action, walking out of the room that no longer fits you, even if your hands shake as you close the door. The Stoics believed in deliberate action, not impulsive reaction. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Before you leave, get clear about who you want to become. Then choose the spaces that support that version of you." When you outgrow the room, something amazing happens. You realize how much power you actually have. Toxic environments make you forget this. They make you feel powerless, like your worth is dictated by their approval. But the moment you leave, you reclaim your autonomy. You stop seeking validation from the wrong sources. You start seeing that you were never too much or not enough. You were just in the wrong room. Here's something the Stoics teach us that's freeing. It's not about them. It's not about proving someone wrong or holding on to resentment. It's about living in alignment with your values. When you outgrow a space, it doesn't mean those people are bad. It simply means you're no longer aligned. You've grown, and your path now requires a different kind of environment. Think of it like graduating from school. You don't hate your old classroom, but you know it's time to move forward. Outgrowing a room is just the first step. The real magic happens when you build new rooms, spaces that celebrate growth, curiosity, and authenticity. This might mean surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to be better, finding mentors who see your potential, or creating habits that align with your purpose. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The same is true for your surroundings. Choose spaces and people who color your life with encouragement, wisdom, and resilience. If you feel like you don't belong where you are, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of growth. It's your soul whispering, "You're meant for more." Don't ignore that whisper. Don't let fear chain you to a room that no longer fits. Growth is rarely comfortable. It will ask you to leave people, places, and habits behind. But on the other side of that discomfort is freedom. Remember, you are not obligated to remain in rooms that demand your silence. You're allowed to outgrow them. You're allowed to seek spaces where your voice matters, your energy is valued, and your growth is celebrated. Outgrowing the room isn't about arrogance. It's about honoring the person you're becoming. Walk out, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because every room you leave teaches you more about the one you're meant to build.